Chambers has said here that, whether it was judges, prosecutors, or public defenders, this is a real concern we have. So this is something very important. I want to thank Senator Chambers for bringing it up. I want to thank the chief for addressing that issue and bringing it to our attention. And now back to the rules. I'm not sure if this is a friendly amendment or not, because I didn't get a chance to read it until it was introduced, to no fault of Senator Stinner. Background on this rule. Originally, I had proposed change 3, Rule 5, Section 7, to read each senator got 2. And again, we can go to fiscal right now, folks, and we can ask for fiscal notes. I have. Sometimes I'm successful, sometimes I'm not. But I asked they'll never give us a specific dollar amount. They'll give us broad, I think it's going to be in this range. Or have you looked at this? This is, I guess, a little step forward, but it also limits their liability because they only have to do once. And I listened to them, and I listened to their concerns. And again, folks, we're spending billions upon billions upon billions upon billions upon billions of dollars. It's a lot. It's more than I will probably get to spend in a lifetime. And I think it's important that we take these fiscal notes seriously. We do take them seriously. We have elevated them to a status higher than policy. Your policy can be the best in the world, but if it has a fiscal note, sorry, thank you, come again next year. Maybe we'll have more money, but probably not, right? And so if we are going to put these fiscal notes on a pedestal, we have to have services that are commensurate with what the value we give them. And we have to have knowledge and we have to have education. And if that means hiring a couple more people, well, gosh darn it, guess what, folks? Let's go ahead and spend a couple $100. We don't pay them well, but let's go ahead and spend that extra couple $100 so we can have the best knowledge and the best information when we make policy. I think this is I compromised already. I see this compromise in front of me. I'll be honest with you. It's a distinction with a difference. Otherwise, they wouldn't have introduced it, but I have no idea what it means. So would Senator Stinner yield to a question?
Senator Stinner, would you yield?
I will.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I listened to your opening, and you said it was to better control their workforce or workload. Tell me what that means. What would they do differently with efficiently manage versus expedite?
Well, here's
expedite, excuse me.
Here's the word expedite means that takes top priority over everything that you're going to do. That's the interpretation that fiscal is making. Efficiently managed means that if I get 8 bills in tax or 5 bills in health and human services, and I still have to get that budget out, which happens to be a priority, thank you, they can redistribute that workload. The one other thing that I wanted to say on your time, I'm sorry, but right now, yeah, you can go to fiscal office and get an interim note. It's not a fiscal note, it's an estimate. There is a difference between that. The fiscal note from the fiscal office is of a standard way up here. The estimate's kind of down here, okay? Just to make that distinguish. So I just wanted to make that and put that on record.
Thank you. And I think I tried to make that point earlier, and I appreciate the time, but right, folks, doesn't that tell you? What you're getting now wouldn't be as high a quality. We want quality work. I understand the efficiently managed now versus expedite.
Time, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Har and Senator Stinner. Senator Shoemaker, you're recognized. I'm sorry, Senator Shoemaker, it is Senator Christ. My apologies. Senator Christ, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, colleagues. Good morning, Nebraska. And I don't want to upstage the professor, but I appreciate the turn. In the Rules Committee, we talked about several changes to, that would have affected the fiscal office, and we had a pretty robust discussion about that process. I too have gone to the fiscal office in my time here in the interim period and said, could you give me an estimate? And Senator Stinner was very eloquent about saying it's not an official document, it's not a fiscal note, it is an estimate. And in some cases, it led me back to a point where I could successfully, or potentially successfully, bring a bill forward with the subject matter, as well as having an idea of how much that costs. Now, I just want to, from a perspective of, Senator Chambers would call it a teaching moment. I don't know that that's what I'm doing today. I just want to let you know from perspective, I was here for the special session in 2009, and it was a bloodbath. And we cut and cut and cut and cut, and it's taken us a number of years to get back to a point where we can restore some of the essential services that were taken out. You're now entering a time, because as the chair of the exec board, I also chaired what is colloquially known as the no-name committee, which is the tax review committee. And we meet twice, they meet twice a year by the Constitution, by statute, so that they can review the tax revenue, tax receipts that are coming out. And the projection that we've seen steadily going down in the time that I chaired that committee, we're in trouble. And it's not going to get any better, any quicker, or quickly, because it's a situation that involves not just spending, but revenue. Now, if you're trying to put a piece of legislation together, and it is the difference between saying you must or you shall or you should, which would change a fiscal note and balance, you need to know that if you want to be successful with the note, with the bill. I think an estimate is perfect. I worry about the workload also in the fiscal office. I've talked with the analysts themselves. I understand if all 49 of us and every chair comes into to the fiscal process and says, I have to have this information, it could bind things up. But I think this is a reasonable approach. And if you followed through my logic and where I've been in the past few years, it truly would be, or is, essential that you know what things are going to cost if you are a conservative, even if you're not a conservative. If you're fiscally prudent about looking at the state's budget and spending the money the right way, it's the right thing to do. I'll support this, and I have supported it out of committee because it already exists. I think you've heard that already this morning. It just normalizes, I think, the process of making you aware that this is available to you. Now it'll be up to the fiscal office and Mr. Calvert and his folks to manage that process. But those are the reasons why I support it. I hope you appreciate the logic that I used to get to that point, and I would ask for your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Christ. Senator Schumacher, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, members of the body. This is a teaching moment. And I've told some of the members of the freshman class that they have my sympathy. My sympathy because the challenges you're going to face when it comes to money are huge when compared to the ones that the few of us in the senior class faced. The 2009 problem was taken care of before we got there, so we've had pretty smooth sailing. There was $600 million in Obama stimulus that came in. There was another $125 million, give or take,